Hey, good morning, everybody. So Paul here from Hashtag Sports. Just kind of checking in because there's been a pretty raucous debate after the last preseason game of Josh Allen versus Matt Barkley and whether Allen should be the starter or Matt Barkley should be the starter. So I personally, and I mean, this is up to you guys. I don't think there's much debate here, but let's have an honest conversation about it. If you're familiar with our channel at all, one thing that you will learn very quickly is that we really, really, really do try our best to try and be as unbiased about topics as possible, except when it comes to Deion Dawkins. We can't be unbiased about that. But I mean, anything outside of that, we're happy to debate and just kind of talk about. So hey, good morning, Elliot. Good morning, John. Anything you guys want? This is what these shows are all about. Get in the live comments. Go ahead and comment away. If you've never commented on any of our videos before, you're going to find out how interactive this really is. Yeah. Who's debating this? Some Yahoo on double nickel zero. Thank you, Ben. You're absolutely right. Totally possible that this is going to be a topic. Allen's ceiling is way higher. I saw another comment just pop up. 100% with you on that. That was Tom Boyer. And Jim Petrosky agrees with that. I know that this on the surface doesn't seem like a major debate, but let's get into it a little bit and let's see if there's any validity here, right? A lot of people are saying that, you can take a look at Matt Barkley. He's got all the experience and Josh Allen, still has some learning to do. And I think that's fair, but let's really unpack this for what it's worth, because this is going to be a debate that you're going to hear, and people are going to be saying this to you that they feel that Matt Barkley should be starting over Josh Allen. Rafi Boyer, I can't do this again. Not another first round QB bust. So Rafi, let me ask you: does that mean that you want Allen to start now to determine, or is this something that you want? You want Barkley to start because you think Allen's a bust. So give me a little heads up on what you think there. Um, J Tadic, the process. This is the process. You're right. Matthew Smith says, "Win now, Barkley. Take a gamble on a franchise Q." Or win now is Barkley taking a Barkley's is your win now QB. Allen is your franchise QB. I think there's something to be said for that. Tim Ellington preseason has been all about short passing, which is Allen's weakest point. I think that's fair. Trade McCoy and Zay for a pick for Clowney. John Patrick, we're talking about quarterbacks here. Come on, we're talking about quarterbacks right now. Sean Munley, don't be fooled by the preseason. Very, very, very big proponent of the preseason, is a big house of liars. And I have a tendency to agree with that. Tom Boyer mentions vanilla defenses. That's the point that I want to get to right away. Big Spence, Barkley did trim the Jets. I know Big Spence, you're a big Barkley supporter, so I'm happy you're here for this debate. Oh no, Michael Goodman, you had Andrew Luck for your quarterback. I am sorry. But on the plus side, for the first time in his NFL career, Chad Kelly is now NFL relevant. He was Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft, and for the first time now he's happened himself into a decent situation. So congratulations to Chad Kelly, I suppose. All right, so vanilla defenses. Tom Boyer brought it up. I think this is a great point. So when you start looking at what Allen has done versus Barkley, right? The stats kind of speak for themselves from a preseason level. Just to look at preseason stats, they've both attempted over 25 passes. Barkley has attempted 38 passes. Allen has attempted 28 passes. Barkley's at 76.3% completions, and Josh Allen is at 64.3% completions. Barkley has 3 TDs. Allen has none. Right. Good news is no interceptions for either of them. Right. So we're not talking about badness here. This isn't terrible. Barkley's taken 2 sacks. Allen's taken 2 sacks. They've both been for right around the same loss percentage. So it's not bad. But I think at this point, when you look at a player like Matt Barkley, right? Barkley was drafted in 2012 off the top of my head. James Sanders says Barkley is the best backup in the NFL, but there's a big but there, right? But do you really want to see that? Sorry, Barkley was drafted in 2012, I believe. Because he was a finisher in 2011 for the Heisman. I think he played 2012 his senior year, so 2013 would have been his rookie season. So Barkley, to his credit, has only played in 12 NFL games prior to this. So he and Allen have a similar level of game experience, right? Because Allen obviously missed some time last year. But I think it's kind of important to call out that Barkley's got more years in the film room, right? And I think there's a lot to be said for that. So when you start taking a look at what's happening with Allen versus Barkley, Barkley should be better than Allen at breaking down these vanilla defenses. You should be better at it, right? Barkley should look good against the second team defense. This is what we're supposed to see. This is what we want to see. I know in Buffalo we've had the QB bug has bit us for a long time, but this is really what we're supposed to be seeing. Matt Barkley is supposed to be able to break down these vanilla-based defenses. What I think we're kind of used to seeing is Tyree Jackson level performances, right? That was kind of one of the things that we saw. And oh man, Tyree Jackson's performance is pretty terrible. It is pretty bad. But I think that's kind of the level of expectation that we've had, is that we've always kind of been jumping on this backup QB train of let's get the next guy in, let's get the next guy in. So we finally have a veteran quarterback in place, and that's Barkley. So is Barkley looking better than Allen? I think there's something. I think there could be a case made for that. So in the comment section, let me dive through and see what you guys are saying right now, and we'll kind of jump back in. You let me know, is it Allen your starter right now, or is it Barkley? Hit those comments and let's check it out. So Rafi Boyer says, I want Allen. That arm and size is just too good to pass up, but you don't want another JP. JP, we did an episode on Hashtag Sports a couple months ago, where we talked about how far back the JP Lossman draft put the Bills. It was fun. It was a fun debate. So that was a good time. John Patrick, Luck 29, Brady 41. Yeah, Luck called it at 29. I guess this has been something that they had discussed previously. Colin Cowherd had a interview with Andrew Luck's dad, and I guess this topic was kind of broached, and they decided to step back from it. So it's amazing what happens, right? Just when you think you got a franchise QB, poof, there it goes. James Sanders, as I mentioned before, Barkley's the best backup QB in the NFL. Elliot Eisler, the AFC landscape has just changed a lot overnight between Luck retiring and Lamar Miller going down for the season for the Houston Texans. Now the Bills as a wild card team's chances have just increased. That's an awesome point. You start looking at, well, I mean, understand that Duke Johnson had been backed, had been traded for by the Texans. So Duke Johnson is just going to come up and step up in that role. We'll see what happens at the running back position in Houston. But I think that's a great point to start looking around the rest of the division. And as players start to fall off, awesome point, right? The Bills are putting themselves in a little bit more of a wild card position if they can't win the division. So the question becomes, is Barkley your guy for that, or is Allen your guy for that? Barkley is the Tommy Maddox QB, John Marlowe. Hey, listen, Tommy Maddox had an outstanding career. I think he played in the XFL. I'm pretty sure he played in the XFL. Big Spence, Barkley is better than Tyrod. Tyrod equals playoffs. Therefore, I'm not willing to go on that journey with you, Big Spence. James Williams, thanks for your comment. I like Barkley as a backup. Josh Allen has shown development in his games, and I think it's just too early to call him a bust. I agree with that. Tom Boyer says, I'd still like to see Tyree on the practice squad. Putting Tyree through waivers is going to be a problem. I don't think anybody's going to touch him. So if you're worried about losing Tyree, you really shouldn't be. I don't think anyone's going to touch him. He's looked pretty rough. Tricky Finch, Johnson, and McKenzie, I think, have played their way onto the roster. Daryl Johnson, totally agree. Isaiah McKenzie is fighting for that 6th receiver spot, which, again, there's kind of a debate up whether that's going to be with Duke Williams or not. But I think Barkley's made both of those guys look great. How are you comparing anyone to JP Lossman, sir? Nathan Thomas? JP was a rough go for Bills. That was the dark ages, as I like to call it. It was a dark time. So far I'm seeing John Muller, Tim Ellington, Nathan Thomas, Allen, Chuck Christopher. Barkley is what he is. Allen has not sniffed his potential. Listen, man, if you followed this station long enough, or this channel long enough, you know that the word potential is a dirty word here in Hashtag Sports. You can sip the potential Kool-Aid all you want, but I remember sitting here listening to debates for 3 seasons on EJ Manuel saying that he hadn't started 16 games yet, and you just keep sipping that potential Kool-Aid, and it's tasty, right? Because you put the draft pick on him. I will tell you that I was not a fan of the draft pick. The character of Josh Allen has turned me around a lot. The player Josh Allen still has to do some go for that. But I love their, and I've said this before on the show, and I 100% believe this. Nobody wants to be the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills more than Josh Allen. We could sit here and debate whether Allen or Barkley is the best QB for this team, but I'm telling you, on a personal level, there's nobody who wants to be the quarterback for the city more than Josh Allen. He absolutely adores this organization and this coaching staff, and he'll go through a wall for you, which I think he's shown that, right? He'll go through a wall for this team, but he's entering his second year in, and we're looking at a team that is playoff caliber defense, right? And you really need to take caution with the steps that you're going to move forward with. So let's keep going in the comments section. I want to hear what you guys have to say about Allen versus Barkley. Yeah, thank you, Rafi, for confirming that XFL and Arena for Tommy Maddox. I thought it was both, but I didn't want to blow that up. I was pretty sure it was XFL. The Bills D shut down the Colts from John Patrick. An Andrew Luckless Colts now. That's kind of what they're going to be looking like, which is so sad for them. Benjamin Murphy, they're looking hard at Duke Williams. Yeah, I agree with that. Duke Williams has looked really good, but again, you have to equate, is that Matt Barkley making Duke Williams look really good, or is Duke Williams just looking really good? When you have a quarterback that can put you in a position to make the right throws, let's go back real quick to the Zay Jones catch from the other night up the right sideline, right? Matt Barkley knifes that ball in after reading the safety, dropping down to a drag route. He reads Zay is single covered and knifes the ball over the back left shoulder of the cornerback. Zay makes a beautiful catch, right? Does Allen make that read and throw? I don't know at this point. I'm not really sure. Barkley's just seems to be a little bit quicker with his decisions. He doesn't have the arm that Allen does, so he's kind of got to be a little bit quicker with decisions. That's one thing that Josh Allen kind of gives you, is the opportunity to be a little bit patient and wait for coverage to come in, because he's got the arm to make small windows bigger, right? Because he can take just that extra quarter of a second longer to make a decision and kind of knife a ball in there. We're going to get to more comments. Let's see. Ravi, I grew up in the dark ages. James Saunders, EJ Manuel never carved a team like Josh carved the Vikings. But we had to hear about EJ Manuel in that Jaguars game for 2 seasons about how, EJ can bring you back. EJ can bring you back. We had to listen about that Jaguars game for 2 years. So I always get hesitant here when we start talking about that. Elliot Iser, some people always think the backup. I lost your comment. Hold on one second. Boy, there's a lot of comments. Thank you, guys. Some people are backup QBs. There's a mentality to being a starter. What kind of QB is a starter? Barkley was talked about as a number 1 overall pick, or at least as a top 10 pick when he left his junior season. He was in the running for the Heisman Trophy, came back for a senior season at USC, absolutely imploded. But they just lost their entire offensive line. It was not going to be a great football team, but he stayed to finish his education. I'm certainly not going to fault him for that, right? But then he ended up being, Barkley went to the Eagles in the 5th round, I think. Let me look at that. Barkley ended up going from a top possible pick. I think he ended up being a 5th round pick, if my memory serves me correctly. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was the 5th round. I'll double check that, because I've got his college football reference pulled up. 4th round, 98th overall to the Eagles. 98th overall to the Eagles. Chip Kelly Eagles, by the way. Cool. I know we could talk about Buffalo badness, like how bad it was in Buffalo, but we never had Chip Kelly. So you just destroy your team, and then you got to have a GM kind of rebuild that for you. Pierre Martinez says Allen is your starter. It seems tricky Finch. Excuse me. Sorry about that. It seems like when Allen starts, the game is strong. He's consistent throughout the game. But if he starts slow, it stays slow. I agree with that. But there's the one thing you'll always notice about the Bills this season is how strong their play script is. The first 10, 15 plays that they run are always really, really strong. Young King, Western New York Mafia. Hey, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, the first 15 plays are always going to be really strong. The quality control department's really good. And that's what Dable used to do for the Patriots was quality control. So um, looking at film and watching as and developing a game plan, the Bills are super strong in that regard. It's once you start getting off script that you see the Bills start to fail a little bit. Um, but when they go into the half and then they come back, everything's great. Everything's gravy. Because quality control comes back down. You develop the next 15 plays, and they do a good job there. So it's one of those things, man. I don't know if it's as much Allen as play calling. That'll be up for debate. That'll be a nice debate going into the season as well. If Allen is your starter, which I have to imagine Allen's your starter at this point. But you guys can make a case for Matt Barkley. It seems like the consensus across the board from everybody is that everybody wants Josh Allen to be the starter. I am certainly not going to debate that in any way. Hold on one second, guys. Whoop. Hey there. Sorry, everything was just going crazy in my life here. My little camera grippy thing decided it was just not going to grippy anymore. Tim Ellington, EJ was really good. Man, I do not want to talk about EJ Manuel anymore. That was some nightmare fuel, and we're just going to walk past that. Andrew Joseph, how long of a leash do you think Allen has realistically? That's an awesome question. So thank you for that question. Guys, in the comment section, let's talk about that, right? So if Allen, for some reason, let's say the Bills start 0-2, right? You drop a division game, you drop a game against the Giants. You've got two division games in your first 4 games. Let's say we're talking Josh Allen, 150-yard completion, Josh Allen back-to-backs, right? So he throws the ball 30 times for 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception each game, right? Let's say that's the level that we're looking at. We've seen McDermott pull the trigger before on saying, okay, well, this isn't working. What are we doing here? Is that enough to get him out, right? I don't know. I mean, we've seen McDermott pull the trigger on quarterbacks previously. I'm not sure if that's enough to get him out of the game. I think it's a good topic, a good debate, because there might be a leash on Josh Allen. I don't know what that would be, because McDermott has always rewarded guys for culture and being a fit for the organization. And I don't know. That's a good question. John Marlowe, 2 games and then yanked. Oh, man. I would really hate to see that. Tom Chuck, Allen is injury prone. You'll see Barkley by week 4. Oh, that's a terrible thought. Have to win winnable games. When you have a playoff caliber defense, every game is a winnable game. Like this is a defense that we could be talking about for years to come. So it really is something that this is really something that you have to approach carefully. Every game that you walk into is a winnable game with this level of defense. You have to think of it that way. Big Spence, this is not a Bengals channel. It's a faded hood. It's red. It's a red hat. It's fluorescent lights. Listen, man. This isn't a studio. I'm not pretending that it's a studio. I'm in my office in my house. This is where the magic happens, guys. This is where the magic happens. Paul Berg, welcome. Preseason was where you show absolutely nothing. I agree with that. You don't want to show anything. And what we've seen is Allen working on the underneath game. I saw that comment earlier. That's very true. Allen's in development mode. You got to be in development mode. You have to try and get him the opportunity to make mistakes now. And I thought a cross-body interception that got called back for the weakest the weakest roughing the passer I've seen of a player not wearing a Patriots helmet was rough, right? So I think that's a learning experience, and that's where you want him to learn is in the preseason. Sean Munley, Allen is a rhythm thrower. It's very important to build that play script and get him going early. That's where Cole Beasley is going to come in. I think that's a great point. Allen has looked at Beasley all day long. That is his moneymaker right now, is Cole Beasley. Matthew Smith, if Allen starts the season, I could see him being pulled in the second half, but I can't see him not starting a game. That's a great point. Yeah, you may see him pulled out if things aren't going well. Again, we've seen McDermott do it before, but I think year 1 versus year 2 is different. Allen lost time because of an injury, not because of poor play last season. So when you start unpacking what's there for that. Um, you know, I think it's different this year. I don't think you can. I don't think you can play tango with Allen. If you pull him because he's ineffective, I think that's going to have a long-term impact on the player that he is, because he's bought in so hard. Um, that's an interesting thought. I think pulling Allen in the middle of a game is different this year than it was last year. I don't know if you can be as cavalier with it as you were previously. John Marlowe, McDermott is on the hot seat if Allen fails. I mean, so's Bean, right? Bean and McDermott. We cut an episode on hashtag previously about what would have to happen if Bean and McDermott were to put up another losing season. What would it look like? It's an interesting debate. You can go back and look at that episode. I don't think they're really on the hot seat. I mean, we're talking about a world-class implosion for either of those guys to be on the hot seat, so I don't think we're really there yet. Nathan Thomas, these guys are trolling, talking about Allen getting yanked. I mean, it's possible, right? I'm not going to tell you it's not possible. Anything's possible. I don't think it's necessarily trolling. I think there's debate to be had here. Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Josh Allen? I'll take Josh Allen all day long. Heather Hathaway. If Beasley holds on to the ball Friday, this is a different conversation. That's an interesting point. I think Allen's reads have been fine. I don't think there's as much cause for concern as some people put out there, right? But you look at scoring drives, and that's where a lot of this is being drawn from, right? How many scoring drives has Allen led versus Barkley? Well, Allen has thrown 0 touchdown passes, and Barkley's got 3. Allen looks to be trying to dissect the defense, and he's taking a little bit longer to make his decisions. Barkley's making his decisions before the football's in his hands. It's a different look right now. It's a very different look from those two quarterbacks. Is that going to carry over into the season? Well, the looks are going to get more complex. So I think we're going to see Josh Allen struggle a little bit, especially when you're going against a Jets team and a Giants team that have nothing to lose, man. They have to come out of the gates hard because they are not excellent football teams. So they are going to have to win football games early. They are not going to be able to sit back and say, okay, well, let's figure this out. No. You're going to see everything they have on the table as soon as possible, early and as soon as possible. Jeff Runner, I think McDermott deserves and will get his 5 years. Let's hope a coach finishes out his contract in Buffalo. Don't quarterbacks have a longer development? I think Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield weren't getting early success. People wouldn't be ripping into Josh Allen. That's an awesome point, right? So often, and we saw this with the Andrew Luck RG3 debate back a few years ago, when you have a herd of quarterbacks that come in, as soon as 1 or 2 start to do well, the expectation level is that they all are going to succeed. Deshaun Watson kind of falls into that same category. Yeah, quarterbacks take a long time to develop. They take a very long time to develop. And this is all part of the process. So if you're drinking the process Kool-Aid, you're okay with Josh Allen right now. If you're worried about losing this, franchise level caliber defense, again, this is one of the best 5 defenses I can think of going into a season. This is dangerous territory if you're hedging on a quarterback. Elijah Wall, Thad Lewis was a fire backup a few years back. I love Thad Lewis. That was a great deal. That was another one of those preseason trades late in the season. I think it was with the Lions. We sent a linebacker for Thad Lewis. If my memory serves me correct, I could be misremembering that. Only problem that I had with Thad Lewis, fumbles. Boy fumbled a lot. But outside of that, I was all right with Thad Lewis. Sean B., don't forget what Reich did for us as a backup. You need to have confidence in a guy coming off the bench, and Barkley's that guy. Awesome point, Sean. It's been a long time since we've had a backup quarterback that I think we can all trust. I think there's a lot of trust in Matt Barkley, which is why this debate is even out there right now. Elliot Eisler, I believe we've scored no less than 24 points. If we continue that, I'm confident that our D will keep them down to less than 20 on Sunday. John Marler, I think Josh can control his demons. Listen from Dorsey, take advice from Morse, and turn over football check down and rifle the open. There's a ton of pieces in place. You cannot argue with the fact that they've done everything they can to make Josh Allen successful. They've gone out and got him a Pro Bowl center. They've gone out and got him a former Heisman Trophy candidate and quarterback in John Dorsey, who's very familiar with Sean McDermott from days in Carolina. I was actually surprised Dorsey didn't get the OC job the first time it was available, back when Dennison got hired. So they've done everything they could to make him successful. Absolutely everything in the world they could do to make him successful. I have to imagine that he's going to be given the opportunity to fail. And as painful as that is for us fans, failing sucks. We've seen failing. We've had failing for a long time. Failing sucks. I think you still need to be a little bit patient and make sure that you can control, as John Morrow says, kind of control the demons, right? And if you can get Josh Allen to stop making those across the body interception throws or attempts, just kind of write those out as a possibility. Awesome. In that case, throw the ball away. Juan Torres says, trade Barkley to the Colts. Colts are definitely in the market for a quarterback. Can't really debate that. They are in a bad spot. Bad spot. Let's see. Ooh, Pierre Martinez mentions trading for T.Y. Hilton. If I'm the Colts, I have no interest in keeping T.Y. Hilton at this point. I'm gonna have to hit the reset button on a quarterback. I think you start chopping T.Y. Joshua Murillo, that's because they were running most of the drives. I assume that was... I don't know where that comment was in reference to. Sorry about that. I'm not picking that one up. Allen won't get pulled. He'll be fine. That's Kenneth Osborne. I have a tendency to agree with you, but it's still a debate, right? There's still plenty of things out there that tell us that Allen's the guy, but there's also plenty of things out there saying that Allen's thrown up enough red flags to at least have a discussion about it. And that's what the whole idea of today is. Allen had a D-Wagon 41. Allen had what? 8 dropbacks against the Lions? Yeah, very big difference between the burn that Matt Barkley's getting and the burn that Josh Allen's getting. They're clearly protecting Allen. Clearly protecting Josh Allen. And that's because they want to give him the opportunity to succeed. But they also don't want to hurt his confidence going into the season. I think confidence is a larger player here. That's why I think if you start looking at it, let's say, the Bills are in their 3rd preseason game, and it's just been disaster city. Pulling Allen becomes a very, very difficult thing to do because pulling him this year is different than pulling him last year. Guess who? This is not the year that Josh takes us to the promised land. It will be a couple of years. It's a process, but it's going to be a couple of years. Jeff Farner agrees with guess who about Josh Allen's development. Keep Barkley. He's a solid backup, which is more than a fifth of you could maybe get of his hype. Barkley is trade bait. And I say that with a wee bit of hesitation because Barkley to the Colts scares me a little bit, right? Because now the only quarterback that the Bills have had in camp is Tyree Jackson, and I am definitely not okay with a Josh Allen-Tyree Jackson QB tandem. That scares the daylights out of me. I have zero interest in going down that road. Zero interest. I can't believe, and if you had said to me a year before the season, hey, what would you be all right with Matt Barkley as your starting quarterback? My answer would have been, absolutely not. I have no interest in Matt Barkley. Zero interest. But in one game, Barkley turned this entire Bills fan base around. And I think it was because there was a little bit of lowered expectations, just a little bit. Hey, Smiley716. For those of you new to hashtag, he called me P Sizzle. That's from a reference from one episode like 5 months ago. That's Mario, who's normally my co-host. He is on vacation, so he's actually not here today. But he called me P Sizzle. It's a long story. So Matt Barkley, let's just unpack the one game that he had. He went 15 for 25 for 232 yards in one game. 15 for 25. 2 TDs, no interceptions. Now, that is very different than his career numbers. From a career perspective, Matt Barkley has 10 TDs, 18 interceptions in 12 games. Very, very different. Very, very different than the Matt Barkley that I think we all think we see right now and in the preseason. Jeff Farner says Tyree Jackson's getting cut. That's fine with me. Hey, Ron, what's up? Good to see you. Thanks. Ron NX is from Bills Mafia International. So if you're not a fan of Bills Mafia International, make sure you go hit up their Facebook page and go like their Facebook page. Thank you for putting that up on your page, Ron. I appreciate it. You guys have always been great for support, so thank you for that. The Lions D-line is scary good, so why risk him getting hurt in a meaningless game? That's from D-Wagon. Jeff Varner says Tyree's getting cut. I'm kind of with you there. Thank you, Elliot, for saying people go like the video. Ron DMK, all young QBs make boneheaded plays. He will learn from it. It's only a preseason game. I don't foresee him doing that again. It is certainly something that we've seen before where Josh Allen loves to play hero ball. And that's just the nature of the beast with a young QB. And hopefully he can make his mistakes in the preseason. I don't think we're going to see much of him. I am a little concerned about the next and last preseason game because last time we saw A.J. McCarron just go out and play the whole game. I have to assume this is Tyree Jackson's game the whole time. That's just an assumption. That's what I kind of assume. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. But I think you dress Barkley, but you kind of throw Tyree Jackson out there and say, okay, bro, go have a good time. Have fun. Chuck Christopher, Barkley for Chad Kelly and a second-round pick. Matt Barkley was brought in here and retained, because remember, he just signed a contract extension this offseason to help Josh Allen develop, not to take his job, right? He's not really there to take his job. Adam June, Barkley's a solid QB2. If someone offers enough in a trade Barkley and Zay Jones for T.Y. Hilton, I'm a little hesitant to trade Barkley, although he'd be a very wanted commodity right now. And the guy's playing great. Here he was as an unsigned free agent. Bills picked him up out of pure necessity. Like, let's go back and let's remember what this was. This was pure necessity when Matt Barkley got added to the roster because we already had Derek Anderson. Derek Anderson goes down. Josh Allen's not healthy, so you bring in Matt Barkley. Had really no time to learn anything. So Matt Barkley was brought in out of pure necessity. Let's see. James Sanders. I think Barkley thrives as a backup because he does great without pressure or expectations. He went to USC, man. I can't say that he doesn't play without pressure and expectations. Snarl, you used to trade Barkley for Tom Brady. Get out of here. Just trade Barkley for Tom Brady. You're trolling me in the comments section. What are you trying to do? Just because Mario's not here, you got to come in and try and bust me up? Oh, my goodness, Tom Brady. If Tom Brady ever wears a Bills jersey, no. Nope. Can't do it. Can't do it. Okay, Matt C., do you think the Bills are still in play for a Clowney trade? There's a couple times I've seen Clowney brought up. I do want to get to Rafi's comment first, and then I'll make a comment about Jadeveon Clowney. Barkley was like Kurt Warner. Dude was basically bagging groceries 2 weeks before he crushed the Jets. All right. So there is talk about Clowney in the chat. So let's talk about Clowney real quick. There is a very, very big difference between LaShawn McCoy and Devin Singletary. I know this doesn't connect just yet, but let's talk about it real fast. So because I hear a lot of people saying trade shady. He was on the last year of his deal. Houston just lost Lamar Miller now, but they've already traded for Duke Johnson. So perhaps in their mind, they've already fixed the running back position down in Houston. Perhaps that's true. I still struggle to see where Clowney's a fit in a trade perspective, and here's why. One, you can't sign him to a long-term extension right now. The window's closed on that. So if you're trading for him, right, there's no promise that he's going to show up. He may do what Jarius Byrd did to the Bills and not show up till week 9 or week 10, right? He's got the rights to do that. He's got to pay a fine every time he does it, but he's got the rights to do that if he wants. So you may be trading for a player who's going to come in week 8, week 9, week 10. How does that help you, right? Sure, you might be in the throes of a playoff race at that point, but you also might not be, right? So trading for Jadeveon Clowney is a little bit of a tough thing for me to swallow because you cannot sign him to a contract extension right now. The window for that has been closed. It's in the CBA. No contract extension for him just yet. If you're going to trade LaShawn McCoy for him, again, there's a little bit of a narrative for that now that Lamar Miller's gone. But I think there's something to be said from explosion, right? Frank Gore to LaShawn McCoy, Shade looks more explosive than Frank Gore. From LaShawn McCoy to Devin Singletary, Singletary looks more explosive than LaShawn McCoy. So can you trade Shady? I suppose you could, right? But you might be trading him for a player that's not going to show up until week 8. 9. Who knows what shape he's going to be in even when he gets there. So you're asking a lot for a trade there, not to mention the amount of money that you're going to pay a player to play 8 weeks for you. Now, again, I'm not telling you that I've heard that Clowney isn't showing up if he's traded. I haven't heard that Clowney is showing up if he isn't traded. I have no idea. I'm just saying that the possibility there exists that you have, if you're talking about trading for Jadeveon Clowney, you have to understand that he might not show up. He might not show up. He might just sit out. Players have done that recently. It's very possible that that could happen. Let's see here. And Elijah Wall, I don't want to disrupt what we have on our D-line. Daryl Johnson's looked great. I would love to see him take some more snaps against some starter-level players. Unfortunately, we're not going to really see that in the 4th preseason game, but I think he's really carved out a spot on this team. I'd rather trade 2 picks and Ty Nsekhe for Clowney. The Texans would take that. The Texans are in tackle trouble, too. You got Ty Nsekhe's on a 2-year deal. That's from Rafi, so that one makes a little bit of sense. Duke Williams is climbing the depth chart. I wonder if Foster's getting cut. Bills Mafia Man 55. Duke Williams has looked great. He did give the Simba. That's when you guys know the Simba. Simba is when you jump over a cornerback. You kind of extend your arms like you're holding a lion cub out to the herd of your followers. So he gave the Simba to everybody. Great job by Duke Williams, man. He's really showed up, and he showed up a lot in run support, which is something that we had talked about here on hashtag was not the biggest strength in his game. He was massively part of the run support game. I think that's going to make a big difference to whether he can make the roster or not. When you start looking at Isaiah McKenzie or Duke Williams and you say, okay, well, we're going to throw the ball 25 times and we want to run the ball 30 times. Who's more important to your team? Duke Williams is more important than Isaiah McKenzie in that instance. Foster's had some focus problems. He's run the wrong routes a few times. He didn't have the best preseason, didn't have the best camp either. From a lot of the reports from people that I know that have media passes that have been there, did not have the best camp. Got yelled at a lot, which is kind of par for the course with Foster from what I've heard. I don't know. Foster, I think, carries a lot of trade value. If you put him on waivers to try and put him on the practice squad again, because he does have practice squad eligibility, he's getting picked up. So if you're going to do anything with him, you're going to trade him. You're not cutting him. He garners more value on your team than off it, unless you can get a trade for him. Pierre Martinez, off topic. How many combined running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends are we keeping? Is Foster a lock? I can't say that Foster's a lock, but he carries more value on your team than off it. I think you're going to carry 3 tight ends and Patrick DeMarco. So get ready, guys. Christian Wade will not make this football team. I know some of your heads are just going to go. You're going to see him a lot in the 4th preseason game, and that's going to kind of push that narrative that Christian Wade's going to make this football team. Homeboy's not making this football team, and trust me, I love the story just as much as the rest of you guys. He's going to have to go through waivers. They could put him on the 11th player practice squad as an exemption, but he can't be called up all season, or he could be put on the 10-player practice squad where he can be called up this season. He's going to, I think he'll clear waivers, and he's going to end up on the 10-man practice squad, not the 11th. Once you start whittling down, this wide receiver or this running back room is just simply too old to not try and retain some of that. Marcus Murphy does not carry practice squad eligibility. TJ Yeldon does not carry practice squad eligibility. I think they kind of need to back up that position a little bit. I think they're okay with Wade in an emergency circumstance, because that's what it would be, emergency level. What if we got Zeke or Gordon? Kind of same thing with Zeke. Zeke wants a new contract, but by CBA rules, he's not allowed to even talk about one till January. So I don't know what the hell Zeke's doing. Melvin Gordon, again, wants a new contract. We've talked about Melvin Gordon trade before. I think there's some possibility there. You reunite Shady out with the Chargers. He goes back with his former running backs coach, who's now the head coach there. I think that's very, very possible. I think there's a little bit more of a narrative there than trading for Clowney. Do I love Melvin Gordon? I don't love Melvin Gordon. I think he's a good player, but I don't really love Melvin Gordon. I'd be more excited about Devin Singletary entering the season than Melvin Gordon. Personal, you guys might disagree with me there. Shady for Clowney doesn't seem logical from Harlan Pope. Yeah, I'm with you there. Let's see here. What 3 tight ends do I think we're going to carry from Daniel Garies? Hey, Daniel, what's up, man? Is this your first comment in the chat today? Yeah, it looks like. All right. So Jeff Farner brings up who he thinks is going to make the wide receiver roster, and I think he's right on point. Brown, Beasley, Jones. I don't think I think Duke Williams, Zay Jones, and Isaiah McKenzie are all fighting for a similar spot. So I'm a little hesitant on Jones. Robert Foster, Andre Roberts is a lock. Isaiah McKenzie again. Got to back up that kick return position. We've only seen wide receivers in the kick return position, so I think he's there. Duke Williams, likely he's making this roster. So from the 3 tight ends, your 3 tight ends are likely going to be Sweeney's making this team. Croft is going to be on IR designation to return, most likely. Knox will make this team. I think you're going to see them carry DeMarco because of the lack of tight ends. So DeMarco will make this team, and I think Kroom is probably making this team. That's my guess. So let's revisit the Matt Barkley versus Josh Allen debate real quick, because Matt Barkley versus Josh Allen has a huge impact on the wide receiver room. So let's talk about that just for a minute. You saw what happened last year, right? The Bills thought they were fine at the wide receiver position, right? They were convinced that they were fine at the wide receiver position. They had Kelvin Benjamin, they had some veteran wide receivers, and they had some young wide receivers. They said, okay, this is what we had last year. I think we're okay here. They really didn't address the position at all. They rolled into last season with what they thought was okay. And Bean mentioned in another interview that was one of the biggest mistakes he made, was assuming his wide receiver position was set. Well, you walk into a wide receiver position, and then you want to start a rookie or a first-year starter, Nathan Peterman or Josh Allen. In either case, those wide receivers are going to have to drive the production of the quarterback, right? Because in a first-year starter or a rookie starter, the expectations on that quarterback are very different. So what I mean is, like, calls will evolve throughout the year, right? So let's say they have a certain route combination called, right? There might be something called a read route that gets added into that. And what that is the wide receiver reads the cornerback and the safety or the linebacker. It's built into the play who that wide receiver has to pay attention to. And then they adjust the route accordingly. So the read route might be like a 5-yard dig if the cornerback's playing off, or it might be a 9 route if he's playing press, right? A 9 route's just a go route. Well, a young quarterback might miss that, right? And throw the wrong route. So you really didn't see any read routes installed from the wide receiver group that was really capable of doing that last season. And you saw the wide receivers struggle, and you saw the quarterback struggle. Right. So that was kind of the theme for last season, was let's develop Josh Allen, and we need to vastly improve our wide receiver room. I think that kind of became obvious pretty quickly. So what did the Bills do this year? Well, they went out and completely revitalized the wide receiver room. And again, went out and got guys who understand how to adjust routes. So what does that mean? Well, that means that Matt Barkley is going to look a little bit better right now, because if there are any read routes that are called in these route combinations right now in the preseason, Barkley's going to be quicker to see those and be on the same level as the wide receivers. Josh Allen, that's still a learning progress. He's still in the process of learning that. So I think it's a little bit of a different conversation when you start talking about the wide receiver position and when you start talking about the wide receiver position and Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a huge impact on who's going to make this team, and the Bills went out and did everything they could to try and make him successful, going out and getting him veteran receivers and John Brown and Cole Beasley. Those are 2 massive additions to try and make his development just kind of kickstart a little bit faster. Then you go out and you completely revitalize the O-line. Elijah Wall, what Bills are making the Pro Bowl this year? Ooh. Thank you, Daniel Gardner. It's Andre Holmes. I couldn't think of Andre Holmes. Pro Bowl players. I mean, every quarterback doesn't play in the Pro Bowl. So Josh Allen will make the Pro Bowl. Lock it in. Josh Allen makes the Pro Bowl this year. Because quarterbacks, it's just elected to the Pro Bowl, qualifier to answering this question. Elected to the Pro Bowl or asked to play in the Pro Bowl. 2 very different things, right? We saw Derek Carr make the Pro Bowl 2 seasons ago when he broke his back. He was playing in the Pro Bowl. He was like the 8th quarterback asked to play. So I think there's 2 very different things. Quarterback is a little bit of a different position. I think it's kind of you have a greater chance of being right by saying Josh Allen than you do any other position. I don't think Ed Oliver makes it. Is Ed Oliver Defensive Rookie of the Year? Dirty Randy. That's an interesting question. We've seen Ed Oliver singled a lot in the preseason because the Bills have been bringing some blitz packages. I'm not saying I'm seeing him win those battles just yet. I don't have super high expectations for his production this season. Next season, I do. I want to see them get a full offseason on his body, get him to the weight that they want him at. He's kind of at the weight that he's at. They're not really going to be able to weight adjust him too much. Matthew C. Yeah, I forgot about Lee Smith. I took Lee Smith over Kroom. Kroom has actually got practice squad eligibility. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate that. Yeah, Lee Smith. I completely forgot he was even on the team. Lee Smith will make the roster over Jason Kroom. Jason Kroom still has practice squad eligibility. So I think you waive Kroom and see if he can slide to the practice squad. Plus, with his injuries that he's got going on right now, I think it's a hamstring issue, which from Banged Up Bills. If you're not following Banged Up Bills on Twitter, you got to follow Banged Up Bills. Phenomenal. He actually mentioned that the hamstring issue that Kroom is dealing with right now could actually be masking a back issue. And Banged Up Bills, he's got a great medical background, so you always hear a lot of really cool insight. A little bit speculative, but it's very plausible that he could be hiding the hamstring could be masking a back injury, not actually a hamstring issue, which is awesome. Awesome. Okay. Can I see us doing another collab with an AFC East YouTube channel? Yeah, we'll definitely do more collabs with other AFC East channels, except the Patriots, because they can go to hell. Andre Roberts has looked phenomenal this season. Phenomenal. But even though he's a veteran, remember, he's new to the wide receiver position. This is kind of along the same lines as Ray McCloud versus Isaiah McKenzie. A lot of people look at that and say, well, those are apples to apples, right? They're the same type of player, but they're not. McKenzie's entering, I think, his 5th year in the league now, and Ray McCloud's now in his 2nd. So they're very different levels of player from an experience standpoint. There's a lot that goes into learning how to be an NFL player. Dennis Strimple, I'm guessing Allen is getting watered down plays that they don't want the Jets to see, probably giving Barkley real plays as they won't scout the second team. They're still going to do some scout work on the second team. But what you're seeing with Allen is that a lot of times they are running what they call mirror routes, which are kind of simpler concepts where the same route is run on both sides of the field. So like, I'll just give you an example, right? So mirror routes are great if you're only playing one safety. So Allen goes to the line and he looks and there's only one safety deep, and you look and you're like, okay, well, I have mirror routes on the corners. So the wide receiver is going to go up and out. It's the same route on both sides. So all Allen has to do is just take the snap and read where the safety goes, right? So let's say he's got Zay Jones on the left and he's got John Brown on the right. Well, he'll look at Zay Jones to try and draw the safety down because he's not going to throw it to Zay because Zay can't catch. And then he'll throw it to Brown on the right side. Fair amount of banter there. I'm kidding. Maybe I'm not kidding. Either way. So some of the concepts that you're seeing that they're running for Allen are different than what they're running for Barkley, but Barkley's also reading these defenses a lot faster than Allen is. And that's not opinion. That is true. Allen is not reading the coverages as fast as Barkley, but nor would I expect him to. Barkley's got 4 years of breaking down professional level film. Allen is just not there yet. That's fine, and that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's a learning curve to getting Josh Allen on the right path, and we're there. But I think he's finally got receivers now who are going to be able to be held responsible for the routes that they're running and not have to learn how to run routes in the NFL. That's what he had to deal with last year. I mean, it was a bargain basement. They were dumpster diving for wide receivers last season. And they've gone out and got players that can hold themselves accountable. And that's a big deal. Daniel Gary says this is Josh Allen's team. I totally agree with that. Paul Berg, what'd you say? Because I see Farner laughing about it. Zeke needs all the cash for his half shirts. Yeah, I know, right? Who would have thought that that Zeke and Kiko Alonso had the same taste in clothing? Let's see here. Thompson Colley, you're not kidding. Zay Jones shows that he can't catch. Matthew C. asking about Andrew Luck's retirement. Makes T.Y. Hilton available. Mentioned it really early in the stream. If I'm the Colts, I'm selling everything I got now because you're just hitting the reset button. I don't think they believe Chad Kelly's the answer. I don't think they believe that. So if I'm the Colts, I'm selling everything I got that's not Marlon Mack. Paul Berg says Kroom is out. Yeah, it's hamstring again, but I have to imagine that that's a back. I don't know about you guys, but way too many players went down Thursday. Any news on Spain? Last I saw it, they were talking about it's an ankle sprain. It is not broken, but I wouldn't expect to see him anytime soon. It's going to be a bit for that, right? That's big men spraining their ankles. It takes a little while for them to recover. Rafi Allen is a project. We knew this when we drafted him. At the time, I wanted Rosen, but I'm happy with Allen. I was riding the Rosen train myself. I'm certainly not afraid to admit that. There's proof on the Rock Sports Network Rock Sports Network Facebook page. We live streamed the entire draft, day 1 and day 2, and I was not a fan of the pick. But again, the character of Josh Allen has won me over more than the player of Josh Allen. The potential of Josh Allen, I'm close to sipping that Kool-Aid, but I'm not there yet, right? I'm not there yet. Dirty Randy agreed. They very much made him the face of the franchise. Thoughts on the Thanksgiving game from Elijah Wall? Dallas always plays tough, right? Dallas is going to play tough. Zeke makes a big difference there. I just don't believe Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. So, yeah, I just don't think Dak Prescott's a very good quarterback. You have Amari Cooper. I'm definitely down with Amari Cooper. I like Amari Cooper a lot, but yeah. Rafi's the suck for luck campaign totally failed. Yeah, think of all those season ticket holders who were season ticket holders for the Colts, and then they think they're going to see Andrew Luck in the last 2 of the last 3 years. Nope, no Andrew Luck 2 of the last 3 years. That killing Matt just mentioned Lamar Miller going down with the trade for Jadeveon Clowney. We just talked about that like minute 37, I think. 36, 37. So you can go back through the live stream. We did talk about it. Melvin Gordon is a more likely trade candidate than Jadeveon Clowney right now. With Houston already acquiring Duke Johnson, I just don't think they really see a need at running back just yet. What would we give up for Hilton? That's a good question. I'm starting with Zay Jones, and if Zay Jones isn't it, I am talking about Robert Foster. They're going to want to go young, and Foster's on a parade of 1-year deals, so he's going to be exclusive rights free agent next year, which means the Bills can sign him for league minimum. A restricted free agent the year after that. Since he was undrafted, you'd have to place either a first or second round tender on him in order for a team to sign him away. No team's going to, unless he catches 15 touchdown passes this year, no team's going to give up a first or second for him. So he's in a great contract situation. Robert Foster carries a lot of trade value. A lot. Jacoby Brissett is the Colts quarterback now. And I mean, you may just see the Colts just absolutely blow it up. And just trade everything because Tua is going to be in the draft next year, and maybe a tank for Tua. It would suck for luck, tank for Tua. It's a possibility, but I don't see Reich. I see Reich's character higher than that because it'll cost Reich his job. That ownership is just too flighty. They'll fire him before they do anything else. That ownership is very flighty. Daniel Barkley is the best backup QB since Reich, which is absolutely true. I 100% believe on that. What do you think the practice squad will look like? There'll be 10 guys on it, Tim Ellington. That's all I can tell you. Mario and I have joked about the practice squad a lot because we keep saying, oh, you can put them on the practice squad. In hindsight, it looks like there's 20 players that are practice squad eligible. Well, with the Bills, that's actually very true. Because their rosters are at 90, they have an immense number of players who are practice squad eligible. So there's a huge contingent of this team right now who could be on the practice squad coming next weekend. So I'm actually going to compile a list and put it on htagsports.com so that way you guys can kind of track who's practice squad eligible and who's not off the Bills roster. So that way you can have a real discussion about who's practice squad eligible and who's not, who could be placed there and who's not. So Spain is Jeff Varner. If Spain is iffy, who's starting for week 1 at guard? That's a good question. Ike Bottinger got some burn in that spot first. I wouldn't think that he's the knee-jerk reaction to start. Yeah, I don't think Ike Bottinger's your starting left guard. I have to imagine that at that point, you're putting Long at right guard, and you're sliding Cody Ford to left guard. Dawkins and Cody Ford on the left side would make an awesome tandem if you're just planning on running the football a lot early in the season. Nsekhe goes back to right tackle, where he's played pretty well. And then you probably just put Long at right guard, I would imagine. And that depends on the health of Morris. Feliciano could still be your starting center when the season comes. We really don't know. So there's a lot that comes into this. Donnybrook, I have a hangover, so I can't muster any intelligent questions right now. Hey, Donnybrook. Well, thank you for joining us so early, and well, it's 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, but I appreciate it. What got you the hangover, man? There's certain things that you can drink that are just hangover fuel. You're just like, yep, this is gonna suck tomorrow. Just beer. Like, Donnie, are we talking like PBR? Are we talking like, what are we talking here? Also, for those of you who are misplaced members of the Bills community, Jenny came out with a whole line of new beer, and I've heard it's phenomenal. So those of you who laugh about Jenny Cream Ale, and it tastes like home or shame, either one. Jenny just released a whole bunch of custom beer. So they have like a strawberry beer. I've heard they're phenomenal. I haven't tried any of them yet, but I've heard they are phenomenal. So if you're looking for a little taste of home, it doesn't get any more better than Jenny. Americans have terrible beer, Rafi. Yeah. Our beer isn't great. That's why, living in Buffalo, that's why we just drink all the Canadian beer. That's why. Joseph Vernon, Piranhas are circling, waiting to see what DBs the Bills are going to release. Awesome point. The Bills have a tendency to generate a lot of usable defensive backs. But take a look at who this coaching staff is. You have Sean McDermott, who's been a cornerbacks coach for years. And you have Leslie Frazier, who played cornerback played cornerback for one of the best defenses the NFL's ever seen. These are two guys who think tank defensive backs. So they know how to make guys successful in that system. Yeah, absolutely. Rafi, you're in Israel? That's crazy. I had no idea you were out there. That's awesome. I had no idea you were out there. That's so cool. Thanks for joining in from Israel. Jeez, that's crazy. Trek Reviewer, what if the Colts tank and Reich loses his job and Dable leaves? Reich could be the next OC. I like your thinking there, Trek Reviewer. I like your thinking a lot. I could get down with that. I did, full transparency, I do have a standing bet with Rock Sports, and I think with Eric Jablonski, that Brian Dable will not start and finish the season as the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Standing bet, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to pound some Seagram's Escapes, which, in case of those of you that aren't familiar with them, they're kind of like cough syrup, but with alcohol, like real alcohol in them. Cam Jackson football page. Why do you think Wade didn't play? I think Wade's going to end up with a lot of look in the fourth preseason game. Or they could be looking and saying, listen, let's not give him anything more. And when we waive him, let's see if we can get him down to the practice squad. Garis, you will lose that bet. I lose a lot of bets on this station. I'm very passionate with the bets I make, and they don't always have a lot of thought. That's just a fact. They don't always have a lot of thought. Wait, did I just see a hashtag sports? Yes, I'm on my phone, Mario. Mario's in the chat under the other hashtag sports page that he created a long time ago and forgot all the passwords and stuff too. This guy. See what I deal with? Terrible. Yes, I am on my phone. Let's see here. Yeah, it is a girl's drink, Snarl. It's disgusting. It's like getting iced millennial reference. It's like getting Smirnoff iced, where somebody hands you a Smirnoff and you just have to pound it. That's where we are. right? That's what Seagram's escapes are. They're disgusting. You do not want to have anything to do with that. Let me put it this way. You don't want to pound one of those and then have to go get your blood sugar checked in the next 48 hours because you will fail that glucose test. Kevin Healy, what's up, Paul? Passed you guys this morning in Batavia on my way to my son's week 1 football game in Niagara. Actually, we didn't drive today. Mario was out of town, so we didn't actually get there. We didn't actually get there. Sorry, man. We didn't go driving today. Turpy's cheerleader beer tastes great. So again, let's just roll back on this Matt Barkley versus Josh Allen debate real quick. So we talked about a lot of topics, right? We talked about a ton of stuff. The preseason is a hot box of liars, guys. It's a hot box of liar. You don't want to believe what you see in the preseason. I don't think anything could taste worse than Nate Peterman starting your season last year, right? We all were like, okay, Nate, look at Nate Peterman. Look at it, 70% completion percentage. That he'll be fine for now. And that didn't even make it a half. Didn't make it a half of football. Terrible, right? So let's just pump the brakes a little bit on the Matt Barkley versus Josh Allen debate, because Barkley gives your team the opportunity to win. God forbid you need to put him in the game. Like, that's the situation that we're in. Allen is the starter on this football team. He is your starter. That's it. He's your starter until injury or an absolute implosion. It has to be Josh Allen. This team has put too many pieces in place for him to be successful, for them to just ignore that at this point. And that's kind of what they would be doing. So the preseason stats that, again, I'm going to bring up because a lot of people are bringing up preseason stats. This is what your preseason has in store for you, okay? Here's the deal. Matt Barkley is carrying a 76.3% completion percentage. Guys, doesn't this sound familiar? 3 touchdown passes, right? He's averaging 9.9 yards per attempt, okay? Which is exceeding Josh Allen, 7.8 yards per attempt. Josh Allen's at 64.3% completion percentage, which we would have killed for last year, right? You walk out of last season, you're like, well, Josh Allen needs to complete more passes. He is, 64.3%. People would have killed for Josh Allen to be doing that. And yet, for some reason, we're still in the conversation of Matt Barkley should be the starting quarterback. So this is also on the heels of Marcus Murphy being the team's leading rusher. Guys, this is the preseason. Marcus Murphy's your leading rusher. He's not going to make this football team, right? I like Marcus Murphy running the football a lot, but the boy cannot pass protect. He cannot protect the most important asset on your team, which is Josh Allen. That's it. You got to be, if you want to make this team, you protect Josh Allen. If you're a wide receiver, you got to run routes and you got to get off your route quick to protect Josh Allen, because you can't have him sitting back there all day. If you're a guard, you got to be able to protect Josh Allen. If you're a running back, you got to be able to protect Josh Allen. The whole offense is built around protecting Josh Allen. That's why they went out and got smaller frame guys who can get out of routes quickly. That's why. Make his life easier. That's why he's here. He's here to be your franchise quarterback. Now, is he going to be a good quarterback with this franchise level defense that we're seeing? That's the plan, right? That's the plan. Christian Wade is the team's second leading rusher. He's run the ball 3 times. He's averaging 23 yards a carry. Like, again, let's just pump the brakes a little bit. Carlos Rodriguez, got to let Allen continue to grow and play this entire season. I'm with that 100%. Daniel Gars, I wonder about Singletary's pass protect. I haven't really seen him in a lot of situations like that, so I'm not sure. He can't be any worse than Marcus Murphy. That's a fact. It's a fact. Can't be any worse than Marcus Murphy. And Christian Wade, again, is probably going to get some play here, but I don't know if you really want to put him on. I don't know if you really want to put him out there for teams to swipe off the practice squad. I think most teams are under the assumption that international players have zero impact on an NFL team. So the Bills might be doing a little sneaky here. Tom Galati, you're in Romania? That's crazy. Oh, so we learned Rafi's from Israel. Tom Galati's from Romania. That's awesome. FYI, because we got so many guys on the live chat. We said this on Sportscaster, but didn't mention it before. The hashtag Sports Fantasy Football League is up, and the hashtag Sports Survival Pool is up. So we've only got about 13 spots left in the Fantasy Football League, okay? So if you email, and the Survival League is unlimited. So the Survivor Pool is just you pick a winner. You pick one team to win every week. All you have to do is just, if your team wins, you're still in. If your team loses, you're out. That's it. It is free to play all of these. So come on in. It's a $100 prize for the Fantasy Football League and a $100 prize for the Survival League. Winner take all. Okay. So that's the deal. If you want in, email htagsports.com. I'm sorry, htagsports@gmail.com. Excuse me. htagsports@gmail.com. Email. And then we'll go through it. All right. Don't have a lot of spots left in the Fantasy Football League. As I said, it's a short Fantasy Football League. So what I mean by that is it's 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end. No kicker in defense. Only 2 bench spots. We have 20 people in this league. So it's a massive, massive, massive league. We're going to do the draft on Wednesday, September 4th, the day before the season. So if you want in, you got to email htagsports@gmail.com. We'll send you the invite links, but you have to be a subscriber on YouTube or on Sportscaster. You got to be there. So email, and that's the deal. Pierre Martinez, can Yeldon occupy a wide receiver spot? He looked phenomenal catching a football. TJ Yeldon, they had no interest in him running the football. They wanted to see what he could do as a receiver, and he was a dangerous receiving option. He looked great. But again, you had Barkley throwing the football, so Barkley's going to read those defenses a little bit better and put guys on a little bit of a better. He's going to pick the battles that you're more likely to win quicker than Allen is right now. That's it. Also, leading receiver right now, 7 receptions for Cole Beasley. Duke Williams at 6 receptions, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's kind of the big deal, right? That's the big deal. Are those 2 touchdowns? Duke Williams is really playing his way onto this football team. But again, he's had a majority of his looks with Matt Barkley. He did take some snaps with Josh Allen, which was great to see. But often he was out there run blocking when you saw him with Josh Allen, which I'm totally fine with. Totally fine with. All right, guys, this is going to wrap up this episode of the Sunday Drive. Thanks. It's a live Sunday Drive. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate it. Anything you guys need, make sure you can just hit us up in the comment section here. It's htagsports@gmail.com. You can also hit up the website, htagsports.com. Or you can find us on Sportscaster. That is Sportscaster, SPORTSCASTR. We are exclusive there every Saturday morning. And again, if you want to sign up for the hashtag Fantasy Football League or the hashtag Survival Pool, email htagsports@gmail.com. Finally, we will have merch coming. I know. Look at that. We've got wristbands. We've got T-shirts and hoodies and stuff on design. So don't worry. All that stuff's coming for those who have been asking for it. We're going to have more details. So email us as soon as you can. Get it to us right now. As soon as you're done, log off. Off you go. Email htagsports.com. We'll get the next people in as we can. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Have a great one. Bye-bye.